Right, as a word of warning, you've got ranty Ryan today, so you have been warned. If you don't feel in the mood to get shouted at, berated by a little whippersnapper who's probably looking at my audience demographics is, or in all probability, younger than you, not even from the same country as you, probably across the pond from you. If you're not in the mood to get ranted out, you better X out now. This one ain't for you because I'm so sick of seeing this thing that I see, this one problem that I see time and time and time again. My Instagram DMs are just, they are a mess with this particular problem. This is killing your weight loss results. Overthinking and majoring in the minors. People that run before they can walk. Like I say, my Instagram DMs, it's a mess with this. Ryan, can I eat what? Should I be eating white rice or brown rice? Oh, is tofu okay? How much soy should I be eating? Oh, what fat sources are okay? How much fat should I be eating? Ryan, lifting weights or cardio? You don't even do any exercise right now. You don't even go for a walk. You shouldn't be worried about lifting weights or cardio. You haven't even graduated from step one yet. You're worried about white rice or brown rice, two amazing plant foods. White potato or sweet potato. You're worried about whether you're eating one incredible type of tuber or another closely related incredible type of tuber, with an amazing nutrient profile. You're worried about that. You should be worried about the donuts that you're slamming on Friday night, adding 1,000 calories to your daily diet. You should be worried that you're not going to the gym, doing walking, doing any exercise at all. Never mind lifting weights or cardio. Ryan, what do you think about spinning? Here's what I think about spinning. It's probably useless to you because in all probability, you're not even doing 5,000 steps a day. Why on earth would you even consider going to a high intensity exercise class if you can't even do 5,000 steps at least 5 days of the week, right? Running before you can walk, majoring in the minors. Look, all of this stuff that I'm ranting about here, I told you it was coming. I'm just getting started, by the way. I'm on fire today. But all of this stuff, they are valid questions. So I don't mean to berate, or belittle. And I probably do sound condescending here because these aren't illegitimate questions. These are decent questions like white rice or brown rice. And I do have an answer. I do have a take on those things. White potato or sweet potato, tofu, soy, etc., etc. How much fat should you be eating and from which sources? Is oil a healthy source of fat, or because it's processed, is it not so good? Are we better sticking to nuts, seeds, avocado, tahini on a plant-based diet? Like, these aren't stupid questions, and I'm talking about them kind of flippantly, and I'm dismissing them rather very flippantly. They're not stupid questions, but 9 times out of 10 when I get these in my Instagram DMs, because I know my audience, I know my clientele, I've been doing this a long time. I know I'm a whippersnapper, but I'm kind of a veteran, an old man in my kind of plant-based years, certainly my online sort of coaching years. I'm a veteran now. I've been doing Slim and Sustain. I was doing other stuff before it. I've been doing Slim and Sustain for half a decade now. That's a reasonable amount of time. Most people don't last in this industry very long. Most people can't hack the internet for this long. I know my audience well. Most of you sending me these kinds of messages, white rice or brown rice, Ryan? Rice ain't your problem, mate. Rice ain't your problem. It's the 600 calories of chocky every day. It's the couple of glasses of wine on a Friday night. It's the sheer laziness, let's be honest, from an exercise perspective. You get home from work, you're tired, you say goodnight to your kids, and then you lounge on the settee. Well, that ain't probably going to cut it for most of you, or it ain't going to get you very far anyway. You're allowed rest days. I'm being particularly tough on you, but that is not the attitude that's going to cut it. And if you're overly prioritizing these silly little questions, no wonder you're getting overwhelmed. No wonder you're taking any action. This is the stuff that kills your weight loss results. Overthinking and trying to major in the minors, trying to run before you can walk. Just be bloody consistent. That is step one. Just consistently eat more whole plant foods. Get the sheer crap out of your diet right now. As I said in my video yesterday, delete those Uber Eats, Deliveroo, whatever they are, nonsense apps from your phone. Close your Domino's account down. Get all the junk food out of your house. Go and give it to charity, give it to friends, give it to neighbors, whatever. Just get it out of your bloody environment. Start eating more cleanly, and you will start seeing your weight drop. Now, that'll only take you so far, right? You've heard me ranting that it's not enough to just eat whole foods and you'll probably get to your ideal healthy weight. Most people, they do need more strategy than that. At some point, you have to start considering things like caloric density. At some point, you do have to start considering, all right, what is the split? What is the divide ratio between the different macronutrients, carbohydrates, protein, and fat? Am I eating enough fiber? Thankfully, that sort of takes care of itself on a plant-based diet. You know, what sort of exercise should I be doing? Like, again, these are very valid questions, but people sprint to those questions before they can just have 3 days eating well. They can't even do 3 days eating well, and they start worrying about whether there's enough fiber in white rice. What about the arsenic problem? Never mind bloody arsenic. Look at all the utter crap in your diet that is full of artificial chemicals and additives and saturated fat. What is that doing to your cholesterol, your arteries? But there's some arsenic in rice. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I lose the plot. It's a wonder that I've stayed doing what I'm doing, because at times I must admit my patience gets tested. I can't open too many of my Instagram DMs nowadays without getting flustered by this stuff, sadly. But yeah, again, these are all valid questions, but if you're not being consistent, this is not the stuff you need to be paying so much attention to just yet, or at least enough attention that it ultimately overwhelms you and puts you off. You can still ask these questions and then integrate the answers into your strategy, obviously. But if you're worried about these things to the extent that it overwhelms you, to the extent that for some reason you just ignore all the crap in your diet, it's like you put all this special attention on the type of rice or the type of potato you use, or whether you use tofu or tempeh. I don't know. I don't get it. Whether you do lifting weights or cardio, it doesn't really matter if you go and binge eat on the weekend, does it? It doesn't really matter how much cardio or whether you do strength training or not, does it? If your diet is utterly trash, or if you're just really inconsistent. You just really, like, sometimes I get the impression on Instagram that I'm giving someone an answer, and 2 weeks later, and they go away and they take it in good faith. They're like, oh, thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate that. And maybe they go and implement it for a week. But 2 weeks later, they've just gone back to their default habits anyway, because sadly, and again, I know I sound patronizing here, and I'm hopeful that you will change. But sadly, that's just what most people do. And you kind of have this sort of reality check as a coach where you appreciate that just a lot of people are just going to go and do that thing unless they're on the program, unless they're on Slim and Sustain with me. Most people are just going to default to what they do anyway, because that's what humans do, right? But yeah, this will kill your results faster than anything else. Is overthinking, majoring in the minors, and just not facing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is there's probably a lot of crap in your diet right now that you probably are, let's be honest about it, let's call it a spade a spade. You are probably pretty lazy right now. And so that's the stuff that needs to be remedied. Don't worry about the minutiae just yet. Don't worry about the small print. Get to that stuff. So this all begs the question, I suppose. So I'm not just ranting away here, because I think I've probably made my point now for the best part of over 5 minutes. So the best part of 10 minutes, probably. This all begs the question, well, how do you be more consistent? Okay, Ryan, I get it. Overthinking the small stuff. Yeah, maybe a bit guilty of that sometimes. Just need to focus on the bigger picture. Well, how do I do that? How do I just be a little bit more consistent? How do I get that junk out my diet and begin to make this more sort of natural and habitual for me, so it doesn't feel like this big forced diet, quote unquote, all the time, all this work, and I'm fighting against all my cravings and my instinct to just go and have a treat? How do I get through that? Let me put my hat on here. You guys were a fan of the hat in my last Instagram and YouTube, I think, but it's more rather because my hair is super long nowadays, and it gets a little bit of mess when I'm ranting away here. So how do you be more consistent? Well, in line with what we're talking about here, firstly, by respecting the level you're actually at and thinking about what you actually need to do at that level. Again, walking before you can run, and not thinking too much about the minor detail. Just trying to eat more whole foods, right? Just focusing on making simple meals, colorful plates, getting some of the junk out your diet. And that is perfectly acceptable as step number one. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be Puritan yet. You don't need to be waking up and doing intermittent fasting and then having your green smoothie and then going out for a run and doing 10,000 steps every. Like, you can build up to that stuff. You can worry about, what should I be pairing? Every time I eat something with vitamin C, should I be pairing it with a fat source, because that helps with the absorption of various minerals and vitamins like vitamin C, right? That's later. Good question. Really high level question, by the way. But later, we don't need to worry about that stuff yet, right? We don't need to be too Puritan with this because you're just going to get overwhelmed by it. And then what action are you going to take? And are you just going to face that elephant in the room, which is really, well, it doesn't really matter if you're pairing your vitamin C with a bit of avocado so it absorbs better. If you're still eating 1,000 calories worth of rubbish every day, right? That's really not the thing that needs your attention, right? That's really not the thing that needs your energy. So yeah, you don't want to be into all this stuff to the extent that you're getting overwhelmed. So respect the level you're actually at and think, what can I do today? What can I do today to move my body and eat a little bit better, drink plenty of water, and get some rest? And anything that is slightly too detailed or slightly too kind of beyond my knowledge right now, do I really need to tackle that right now? Probably not. Let's just get the basics right first. Let's just get the fundamentals right first. So that's the first step for being more consistent, is respecting the level you're actually at, so to prevent yourself and protect yourself from getting really, really overwhelmed. Okay, I'm a beginner. The internet's out there. There's all these opposing viewpoints, even within the plant-based community. Furman says one thing, etc., etc. Ryan Adams is saying another. Greg is saying another. So-and-so on Instagram says something else about beans are not a protein source. Oh, it's chaos, right? It seems like everyone, is very polarized. But really, I think you listen to most coaches, teachers, doctors, influencers in the plant-based space, we're all saying the same thing, generally speaking. Whole plant foods are pretty good for you. Eat lots of those. Eat lots of fiber. Whether beans are an acceptable protein source or not, they're a really healthy food. You should eat lots of beans. Like, everyone's kind of in agreement, really, on 99% of it. And then there's a bit of sort of infighting and whatnot. But generally speaking, most people are aligned. So why would you, no offense, again, patronizing Ryan coming in here, why would you as a newbie feel like you have to get involved with that infighting and all those debates between teachers and spearheads in the plant-based space, when really you could just do what 99% of them agree on anyway and just eat kind of well and eat lots more plants? That's probably step number one. Get lots of the ultra-processed foods out your diet, right? Step number two for being more consistent, and this was crucial to me. It's not crucial to everyone, but I think in terms of the people I work with, in terms of the people that my program attracts, certainly, and certainly in my life, simplicity. Simplicity is really important. You don't need to do all this elaborate stuff and recipes. And again, you're just asking for overwhelm. You're just asking, if you're signing up for 45-minute recipes, you're going to the grocery store and getting a list of 20 ingredients for one meal. It might be the best tasting thing in the world. And for that one or two times you make it, it might be absolutely amazing. All right, rock your world. Are you sticking with this process for very long if that's the bar you're setting, if you're setting the bar that high? So for me, simplicity, certainly from a food perspective, but this definitely applies to exercise too. Simplicity, really, really crucial in helping me actually stay consistent. So I can actually integrate this with my lifestyle and never try and sort of set up a nutrition routine that is that is far too complex for me, and it's therefore very impractical. And again, you can make stuff. When we've got motivation, we can do anything. We can do a lot. We can spend 4 hours in the kitchen doing meal prep every day when the motivation is high. You get to the end of week one, you start losing a little bit of weight. Do I really, is my heart really in this? Do I really want to spend another 4 hours in the kitchen? Like, that wanes. So you have to think about what is practical for me, not just in week one when my motivation is high, but for the next year here, for the rest of my life, right? I want to adopt this way of eating. I want to change my life. I want to get to my ideal healthy body weight. I want to get a little bit fitter. Maybe I want to build some muscle too. I want to strip the fat off, but I also want to feel really good. I want to have great blood work, vitality, skin, etc., right? General health and well-being, that's the audience I attract. If you're checking those boxes as I'm talking, if you're wanting all those things, well, we're thinking about longevity, right? We're thinking about, what could I actually stick to here? What habits do I need to change to make this work for the long term? Okay, as people are very short-termist with this, they see a diet approach as a means to an end. I'm just trying to lose weight for my vacation. I'm just trying to lose weight, even just for the sake of losing weight. But do they really care about the habits and the process for the rest of their lives? Do they really get invested? This is not the people I attract, admittedly, but this is how a lot of people think. And so to ask yourself the question right at the start of, am I asking a lot of myself here, is this really realistic? Or am I only going to do this when my motivation is really high? Am I going to do this in my toughest moment? That's a good sort of screening, a good sort of criteria, a good test for like new meals and recipes, but also exercise, like different workouts and whatnot, or different modes of exercise. Like, oh, that gym that's 45 minutes drive away from my house is a pretty amazing gym, and it's the nearest, cheapest gym in my area, but it's 45 minutes from my house. Like, do I really want to get a membership there? Am I really going to stick to that for very long? So there's a good screening. It's like, well, I might do it now, but will I do it when I'm really low? Will I do it when I'm demotivated? Am I likely to do it when I'm tired? Or am I biting off more than I can chew with that? So simplicity, more than I can chew with that, excuse me. Simplicity is so crucial to staying consistent. Folks, if you're just joining me, I've just been ranting away here. We're on the kind of calmer, more productive end of the live stream, but I've just been ranting away about one of the biggest things that kills weight loss results. I'm seeing this in my Instagram DMs all the time. Overthinking, majoring in the minors. People worried about, oh, should I eat white rice or brown rice? Or which supplement should I be taking? Again, don't mean to belittle. These are really valid questions. So I don't want to sound really dismissive of these are questions I've addressed many times on my channel. I don't want to sound really dismissive about them. But there's people that literally are eating so much crap every single day. And then they're asking me questions like, Ryan, so-and-so said something about beans not being a protein source. What do you think about that? What I think about that is, and I do have an opinion on that topic that I've ranted about for a while on Instagram, but what I think about that, mate, is that you're eating 6 Whole Foods double chocolate cookies on a Friday night. You don't need to be worried about where you're getting your calcium from right now, okay? So that's what I've been ranting away about. Now we're just talking a little bit about the value of sort of stopping thinking about the small print and the minutia and just staying consistent. That being step number 1, and not running before you can walk, just getting the basics right first, watching your weight initially start to drop, and then you can advance your nutrition knowledge and get answers to those sort of more minutiae, more detailed, more advanced questions in time. And the other thing I want to talk about with regards to getting more consistent, the other tip I've got for you on this subject is that I know it's kind of a funny answer because it's not kind of a hack itself, but consistency feeds itself. Consistency feeds itself. Like the more consistent you are, the easier it is to be consistent, because in itself it is habitual. Consistency is a series of habits. And so the more you engage in that series of habits, the more you build associations and habits and routines and triggers around those things psychologically, it just becomes easier and easier in time to stay consistent. So if you're asking yourself right now, like, why can't I stay consistent? Well, part of the answer, there's many answers to that question for you personally that you'll need to evaluate. One of the answers to that question, though, is because you're not actually being consistent. I'm not consistent because I'm not actually being consistent. Therefore, it's much harder and less natural to be consistent. Does that make sense? Make sense? Excuse me. So there is, I suppose, that what I would invite you to think about here, the metaphor that I would use for this is, imagine your light at the end of the tunnel. Right, that light at the end of the tunnel, you'll come out, you'll see the lovely horizon there, and you'll get to the promised land. And that promised land is one of, I'm not perfect, and I'll still have some cravings from time to time, and I'll still slip up like I do from time to time. Oreo Gate that I spoke about on Instagram the other day, right? And on my YouTube short from a couple of days ago, that had great feedback, by the way. But not perfect from time to time, all the time, excuse me. I have wobbles from time to time. But generally speaking, this feels really habitual now. It feels really natural. It feels pretty easy to say no to the stuff that I used to be really addicted to. You just have this discipline and this strength. It's not, I'm using words like discipline, and I know these are words that can sound kind of, macho, and they kind of rub people the wrong way. But to be honest, it's kind of effortless. It's just habitual. It's not even discipline at this stage. You know, that cliche trope of discipline over motivation, which there's some truth to it, by the way. But I've always thought better than discipline is habits. Better than discipline is, no, you don't actually need to force willpower and discipline, because this is just who you are and how you do things, and you've been doing it for a long time. So it's very sort of built into your routines and into your thinking, into your, this is not literally true, but let's say figuratively, built into your DNA, your identity, who you are, right? To just eat well and eat a lovely plant-based diet and do some exercise and take care of yourself, right? That becomes you, your DNA, when you've done this like I have for years and years. So yeah, just understand that consistency itself feeds that beast. There's that light at the end of the tunnel. You can get to that point. That is something that my clients experience, and it doesn't take all that long. When you're actually strict, it doesn't take all that long to actually transform. I think it shocks people. I'm always sharing my clients' stories, but I think it shocks people not only how much weight you can lose, but how much you can transform off the scale in quite a short period of time. But the caveat, the catch is, you have to be really strict and you have to be intentional. And that doesn't mean you can't go out. I have this 1 meal out per week rule with my clients. I have a couple of clients that occasionally have a glass of wine or a G&T like I do myself. And they still get absolutely amazing results, and they still transform massively. So it's not about being perfect, but it is about being a level of strict that most people are incapable of, right? And that's why we're talking about consistency today. But you need to understand that consistency feeds itself. So if you're watching that thinking, you're watching this, and you're thinking, yeah, Ryan, that sounds great, to get to the point where it's actually much easier to be consistent. It doesn't doesn't feel like this big battle, this big constant negotiation in my head all the time. But just understand that, like, part of the solution to that inconsistency problem is just being consistent. Like, it makes it so much easier. Consistency compounds. I could have just said that about 5 minutes ago and saved all the stories and metaphors, right? So that's how you be consistent. But in summary here, this is what's killing your weight loss results: overthinking, majoring in the minors, to the extent that it's making you overwhelmed and it's making you overlook, frankly, the stuff that is really holding you back. So hopefully there was some use in me ranting to you here. I think it got a little bit more practical and productive with the action steps towards the end here on the consistency subject. But I think over and out on this, that's my point proven. So hopefully this was useful. Leave your follow-up questions and comments down in the comment section below. If you would like to hire me as your personal coach and lose 15 to 25 pounds or more in the next 12 weeks and have me actually hold your feet to the fire so you don't feel like you're in this alone anymore, to push you, to provide you support, encouragement, some tough love, perhaps some accountability, more personalized Ryan rants, let's say, then just fill out the application form at the link below. I'll stick the link in the description box below. Click there, fill out the application form, and I'll be in touch if you seem like you'll be a good fit for the Slim and Sustain program. Thanks, folks. Hopefully this was useful. See you soon.